What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So today, the topic that I want to be talking about is the health at every size movement. And I kind of wanted to spend this video explaining why I am critical of the movement, because I think that there are some people that might have the wrong idea of why I am not the biggest fan of health at every size. Now, before we get into that, I do want to say, if you guys have not checked out my podcast, Work for Change, I would love for you guys to check that out. It's a podcast that I do with my brother. We interview a lot of people. Obviously, the podcast is called Work for Change, so that's kind of the backbone of the podcast. We try and interview people that maybe have had an incredible life change, maybe the professional athletes. We talk about a lot of the topics that maybe I'll talk about in a video, just in a longer format. So if you do like podcasts, I will link the iTunes link down in the description, but we also have it on YouTube. You could also pretty much search it on any podcast platform and it'll be there. So if you just search Work for Change, or again, there will be a link down in the description below. For me, the main issue that I have with healthy at every size is the implication of saying healthy at every size, because I think that it's just not true. I don't have an issue with saying happy at every size. I don't have an issue with saying being treated with respect at any size. I think that anybody deserves respect, no matter what size, what race, what sex, anything like that, right? You should always be treated with respect, but at the same time, we shouldn't be lying about the implications of morbid obesity. I truly believe this to be fact, that your quality of life will go down if you are morbidly obese. I know that for me, when I was 360 pounds, I worked at the Van shoe store, right? And I worked, the longest my shift would normally be, it was like a 4-hour shift. And I remember when I would work, I literally felt like my feet were going to explode. And I would only stand for maybe 2 hours at a time, and then I would get a break, but I could barely handle that. I literally could not bend down and tie my own shoes, so I had to tie them on my lap and then put my feet inside of my shoes. At 20 years old, I was literally afraid of being home alone, because I thought, if I have a heart attack and something happens, who is going to call the police when that happens? That's how scared I was of being the size that I was. And now, obviously, everyone's going to have a different experience. Now, I'm not saying everyone that's 360 pounds feels that way, but it does eventually get to that point, because we know as humans, we're not supposed to be that large. So if you want to be healthy and maybe be 20 pounds overweight, 30 pounds overweight, that's fine. But for me, my main gripe is saying that being morbidly obese is healthy. So for me, I think that obviously kindness is very important, but it will never be more important than telling people the truth. So yeah, it's nice to be kind to people that are really overweight. And I think, again, you should be kind to everyone. But I think part of that kindness is explaining the real implications of being morbidly obese for a long period of time. I actually recently came across a video from the YouTuber Charlie Gold. It was actually posted from my friend Alan over at Every Damn Day Fitness. He posted it on his Instagram, so I went and I clicked on her video, and the title of her video is called The Darker Side of Obesity. Now, Charlie Gold, one, I think is a great content creator. She is very good in front of the camera. I really enjoy her videos. I've watched a few of them now. She mainly does reactions to Amberlynn Reid, who you guys have, I'm sure you've seen some of my videos about her. So it's been really interesting seeing someone, mainly react to these types of videos, but also able to hear her perspective, because for her, she actually got up to 400 pounds. And in her video, she does explain it. She got up to 400 pounds and her body basically shut down on her. She couldn't stand for any long period of time at all. She had to leave her job because of her size. She became housebound because of her size, and her life was drastically changed because of the size that she was.
You may not know, at one point I was 400 pounds. I've lost quite a bit of weight. When my body got up to the 400 pounds not too long ago, my body shut down on me. I couldn't walk really for long periods of times. I couldn't stand longer than probably like 2 minutes. And I essentially ended up becoming housebound. I couldn't perform my job, so I definitely had to leave. And for a little while, I was living off of my savings.
In her video, she talks about how she isolated herself because she felt bad about being around her friends because of the limitations that she had.
I would still try to go out and do things with friends and enjoy my time with friends, but as time went on, I realized how much I was inconveniencing them. They would have to make certain allowances for me And after some time, I just decided to start isolating myself. I didn't want to continue to bring them down because my body was shutting down. And there's a saying that says, isolation is the devil's playground, and it's true.
And I can't agree with that more. It's been a while since I was morbidly obese, but I remember I would sit at home and I wouldn't go out with friends. They would ask me to do stuff and I would always say no. Not a lot of times it wasn't just because I didn't want to. It was because I was literally afraid of not being able to do the things that they wanted to do, or not being able to fit in the places they wanted to go. If they wanted to go to an amusement park, and I'm sure you can make the argument, they should make rides bigger, they should make all these things bigger. They're trying to accommodate the regular sized person, and who might be a little bit under or a little bit over that weight. But to try and accommodate someone that's 500 pounds, it's just not possible for the airline companies, for roller coasters, things like that, right? So I felt bad always having to make my friends basically make sacrifices for me. So I just kind of stopped hanging out with them. I just kind of started to do my own thing.
I just don't want anyone to end up where I was. I don't even want Amber Lynn to end up where I was as far as mentally. Even now, at her being close to 600 pounds, she's way more mobile than I was at 400 pounds. She does not know if she allows herself to completely let her body shut down. She does not know that's a hell that is hard to come back from.
A lot of it comes down to me not wanting people to get to the point that I was at. And I think that it's crazy sometimes that me even saying that can be considered mean or rude or fat phobic. It's not that I'm trying to be fat phobic, it's that I'm trying to share the reality of the situation, the gravity of the situation. This is not a life we need to be promoting to other people, but especially to kids. Healthy at every size is the most dangerous for children. We need to let them know it is not okay to be morbidly obese. Your life will be shorter, and that short life will not be as enjoyable as it could be if you just took control of your health. Again, kindness is great. Being accommodating is great, but it shouldn't be more important than being truthful and letting people know about the real dangers of morbid obesity. It's not a joke. It's not just a fun thing. It's not like, I can be pretty and still be on a magazine of a big magazine cover because I'm morbidly obese. Like, that is the smallest, tiny minority of people might be able to be incredibly large and still be able to move. But for the vast majority of humans, being that large is going to take a huge toll on your health, but a huge toll on your mobility and the way that you're able to move throughout life. Like I said earlier, people in the health at every size, they want to talk about how airlines need to be more accommodating with maybe bigger seats or having more seatbelt extenders. They want to talk about how restaurants need to have bigger seats or make the booths movable so you can fit into those things. While I can maybe understand some of the societal changes and maybe making people feel more accepted, the fact of the matter is that doesn't change the fact that there was a point where I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to wipe my own butt. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that I was barely able to stand for a few minutes? That's not society's fault. That was something I had done to myself. So we need to stop just trying to focus so much on making everyone feel included and be realistic about the actual implications of our actions. I would say the main point that I do absolutely agree with healthy at every size is that we can make healthier decisions at any size we're at. 100% I agree, and that's where we need to start. Healthy at every size really doesn't like when people focus on just strictly weight loss, and I see where you're coming from there. Like, a lot of people can get very focused on the number on the scale, but I think completely demonizing weight loss, the term weight loss, completely demonizing scales is not the way to go. The fact of the matter is, if you are morbidly obese and you start making healthier decisions by not drinking soda all the time, not drinking any of your calories, moving around a little bit more, The fact of the matter is you are going to lose weight. Is that a bad thing? No. Should we make people feel toxic for posting before and after pictures because they're proud of their progress? No. That just turns this whole situation into this toxic thing that it doesn't need to be. And the last thing that I actually wanted to bring up is recently I've been getting more and more criticisms saying that I am sexist because I talk about a lot of women in the Healthy at Every Size movement. Well, I definitely do think there are way more women in the Healthy at Every Size movement. I think the main reason is because there has definitely been more policing of women's bodies. You know, you're too skinny, you're too buff, you're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. 100% that is a fact. And so I think that that's why there's just more women in the Healthy at Every Size movement. And so it just so happens, for some reason, the women are usually the more extreme examples, and those are the videos that get made. If there's a guy that is spouting the same nonsense as some of these women that are, you know, on the extreme sides, trust me, I will make a video and I'll be happy to do it, but it just hasn't happened yet. So I just want to make it very clear, I am not sexist. I think that that criticism is not based on any reality. I think it can be based a lot on reaction, which is fine. People can believe whatever they want. But I did want to, you know, put it out there that I do understand why there are more women in this movement. I think that without a doubt, the pendulum has swung from a lot of body policing to being like, we can be any size we want. You can be any size you want, but you can't claim that any size is healthy. That being said, I do highly encourage you guys to check out Charlie's video. It is very, very good. It's very intense. There is a lot of emotion in it. I think that's why I like it so much, because you can tell that it's very real and it's very raw. So I really do appreciate her making that video. I think it'd be really cool to maybe get her on the channel at some point and just maybe do a little interview or talk about some of the stuff that she's been through, because she's definitely had a journey, and I think that that's really cool. But with that being said, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Tell me if you agree, if you disagree. I always love discussion. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. There was one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, look how buff I am.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.
Set.